Hi, this is Dave Bisbee coming to you from the beautiful Seven Canyons here in Sedona, Arizona. Today we're going to talk about the difference between practicing and warming up. It's something that golfers get confused with all of the time. I always try to tell my students, when you're getting ready to go out and play, you go to the range to warm up, which is very different than going to the range and practicing. So we're going to look at what are the elements of a warm up before you go out onto the golf course, and then how to structure a practice session. Now, when I start my warm-up session before I go to play, one of the things I like to do is to kind of warm the body up, right? Given that I don't know that anybody will go through all of the stretches and the things pre-game like we should, at least we can make some swings and do take some motions that gets us loosened up. I like to use this plane swings plane trainer. This plane plane trainer is set up to, one, give you guidance through the motion of the swing, but the rollers that we use on these are also heavy. They're fairly heavy. So what I like to do when I start my warm-up session is get into the ring. I make some little slow, big swings, just feeling that club traveling along that plane line. And as I get a little more warmed up, I'll add a little bit of speed to that motion. What that trainer does also is it creates a little more resistance in that plane of motion. So you're really building some strength as well as some flexibility with that. Now, after I made a few swings on that, and I'm starting to feel like my muscles are warmed up, I'll move on. So as I continue my warm-up session, you can see here I've teed up a few balls in a row. What I'm going to start with is a little bit of a rotation drill. And it's really giving me the feel of where the club is and what the sequence of that swing motion is in very small little swings. And I just call it a rotation drill. And it's really to get the club shaft parallel to the ground with the toe of the club pointing straight up and the shaft parallel to my target line, then to hit through and do the same thing on that side. Parallel to the ground, parallel to the target line, toe pointing straight up on the other side. I keep my feet really close together here because it's not really about getting the body involved yet. Club and arms, and we're just making some small swings, checking on position. And you'll find as you make those swings, contact will be just as solid as a bigger swing. So the next phase for me, and I'll do probably 10 to 15 balls in that, but we're going to make it a little shorter in this segment. Now I'm going to get the body involved by going from there and starting to rotate the shoulders. As I turn, I just let that club follow that turn to the top of the backswing. Feel that rotation through and go to the finish. So we're making a little bigger swing, a little turn, and a little turn through. And again, I'll hit probably somewhere between 8 to 10 just doing that drill. And it really gives me the feel of that full motion, the sequencing of it, and getting the club, arms, and body involved. I'm starting to add a little more speed to that as I go along as well. Now, if anybody has ever made this comment that it takes you a few holes to get warmed up, the next part of this warm-up drill is going to be for you. So, at this part of the warm-up session, we're going to talk about how you should prepare to go out onto the golf course. Anybody who's ever made that statement that it takes you a few holes to get into rhythm or a few holes to warm up, well, use the driving range for that warm-up. And what I mean by that is, don't just stand down here and beat balls and then try to take that to the first tee and expect to feel like you're in any kind of a rhythm. That's not how golf is played. So what I like to do is I like to play the first few holes right down here on the range. So here at Seven Canyons, our starting hole, our opening hole, is a par 5, and I'd hit a driver there. So I'm going to hit a driver. Now, that was a pretty good shot, and I think what that's going to leave me into that green is like a hybrid. So I'm going to hit my 4 hybrid for this next shot. I think that one would put me pretty close to the green, so I'm going to move on to the next hole. Our second hole here is a pretty straightaway par 4. You can hit a driver if you want to. I usually do, so I'm going to hit a driver again. I'm kind of imagining that fairway out there. Now, I think that would have left me somewhere around the 150 mark. So that next shot would be an 8-iron. So I'm going to pull my 8-iron out. I think you're starting to get the picture. So what I'm going to actually do is I'll continue through the first 2 or 3 holes on the golf course and hit the clubs in that sequence that I think would happen on the golf course. Now when you get to the first tee, you're already in rhythm. You're a couple of holes into your route, and it'll make it very much more like playing the game down at the range. So that is the difference between warming up. A warm-up session is probably no more than 25 or 30 balls. Like I said at the beginning, I like to start on the swing ring, do some warm-up drills to kind of warm the muscles up, do the rotation drill, and then I like to play a few holes like I was on the golf course before I head up. So tune in to the next segment where we're going to talk about how to structure a practice session if you had an hour to practice.